Hello Fanatics, I'm Dylan Phillips, and let's talk about Season 8 of AMC's The Walking Dead. First, we'll tell you our recap of the show, followed up by our review, and then we'll finish off with telling you if it's worth the watch. Created by Frank Darabont, based on the comics by Robert Kirkman, The Walking Dead follows the story of Sheriff Rick Grimes, who wakes up from a coma to discover that the world he knew is gone, and must lead a group of survivors to stay alive against the undead threat. So, recap time. The main story of Season 8 revolves around the continued battle between Rick and his group, the Kingdom, and the Hilltop against Negan and the Saviors. The groups repeatedly attack each other, causing hostility to come to an all-time high, as both sides continue to regain the upper hand. As relationships are strained and loved ones die, the conflict comes to a head where Rick and Negan finally bring an end to their feud. So about halfway through last season, The Walking Dead started to rely a little too much on cheap gimmicks that were more about the shock and awe value rather than following character traits, and it saw a lot of situations where characters started to act well out of character. While that can be said about some of this season's storylines, a few did show some promise for a brighter future. Nevertheless, the writers dragged out the war between the Saviors and the rest of the communities in order to explore some subplots either made entirely for TV or based on some from the comics. Let's highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good are Carl's journey in the first half of the season, Siddiq's introduction and acceptance in the group, Morgan's descent into madness as it leads into Fear the Walking Dead, Dwight's infiltration of the Saviors, Ezekiel's realization of his status in the world as the Kingdom falls, and Negan's personal growth. The bad are Eugene's apparent double agent status, Simon's sudden interest to remove Negan from power with no signs of it before, Gabriel's illness and onset blindness, Gregory's story and his screen time compared to other characters, Jadis and the Scavengers, and Rick's descent down a path of destruction. And of course the ugly are Morgan's hunt of Jared, the lack of mourning for Carl from other people who most likely got letters from him as well, Aaron and Tara's attempt to recruit Oceanside, the constant will they won't they between Rick and Negan, and all of Daryl's story. He was created entirely for the TV show, so no storylines are set in stone, and it feels like the writers are out of ideas for him, but can't kill him because of his ultimate fan favorite status. He seemed to be at the root of almost every problem that happened thanks to his act first, think later mentality. Not only was the story itself a dull and dragging mess at times, but the use of flashbacks and flash forwards really took away the immersion factor from this story. You're supposed to feel like you're part of this group and traveling with them, and jumping from different time periods was taking you out of the atmosphere. The characters continued to act in ways that benefited whatever storyline was trying to go forward rather than act like their previous behaviors. Opinions and relationships were constantly changing in order to support whatever direction the story was going, and that's because there were too many supporting characters. With the war focusing on major players, a lot of characters were thrown on the back burner. Enid was never able to really mourn the passing of Carl, despite her having a potential relationship with him. Rosita, Michonne, Jesus, Jerry, Siddiq, and Aaron are all characters that were severely underused in this season that could have benefited from a lot more screen time. Aaron lost his husband this season, and rather than struggle with the inner demons that would bring, he deals with a little starvation outside of Oceanside, and that's about it. And characters like Jadis and Gregory, who are nowhere near as likable, got tons more screen time. The problems with this show have been evident in the last few seasons, and hopefully the finale can remedy that with a time jump or change in tone. The promise of all-out war ended in lackluster fashion, as no one died on a show where no one should be safe. The fact that this show is supposed to be about the survival of humanity against the undead apocalypse, and yet the biggest threat is betrayal among human groups rather than trying to sustain a real civilization, has this show going on a downward spiral. So, with the thoughts heard, here's our final word. This season of The Walking Dead is a dragging character drama that follows whichever storyline will deliver the biggest bombshell to its TV audience while upsetting its comic fanbase. Taking away the show's main selling point, the walkers, aside from the occasional gimmicky death of a beloved original character with way more story to tell, shows that the writers are focused on more shock and awe than actual storytelling. While some of the stories continue to be interesting, they are either thrown into the background or killed off to continue the less engaging, campy, and oversaturated stories of a few bigger characters. Hopefully the shift in tone that the finale suggests brings this show back into form with its earlier seasons, by returning to its roots and letting us know that death can happen at any time in the apocalypse. From the slow, uneventful war story to the dramatic betrayals and backstabbings, this show needs a very strong soft reboot in order to survive. So I'm gonna say, it's not worth the watch. And that's our recap and review of Season 8 of The Walking Dead. If you've seen it, what did you think? And was it worth the watch? Let us know in the comments below. I'm Dylan Phillips, and thanks for watching. If you liked this video and you want to see more, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Check out our latest Fanatic 5 video where we discuss the top Doug Jones roles. Don't forget to follow us on our social media. And until next time, Fanatics, keep it real.